Factors affecting service quality in public bus transportation in Sri Lanka. Authors are Ranawana and Hewage, and presenter Ms. Ranawana.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Ranawana from Sinek Maritime Campus, and I have done my research on the topic, the analysis of factors affecting service quality in public bus transportation in Sri Lanka. And this was supervised by Mrs. Dilrukshi Hewage. And moving on to the outline of my research, and I will give a brief introduction and my research objectives, problems, significance of the research, description of data, methodology and findings, and discussions and conclusions. As the introduction, what is public transportation? It's a shared passenger transport system which is available for the use of general public for the purpose of traveling from an origin to a destination, and it is different from using other modes such as carpooling, taxis, and other hired vehicles or any other private transport arrangement. These are some of the main benefits of using public transportation, and it saves fuel and reduces road congestion. And in everywhere in the world, many countries, governments, transport operators, policymakers, legal authorities, and other related parties identify several benefits of using public transportation. As a result of these long-term and short-term benefits, they are continuously investing on developing public transportation infrastructure facilities and policymaking. It is obvious that the public transport saves fuel and reduces the road congestion, as it allows many people to travel on one large vehicle rather than using many small vehicles on road. According to the US studies and their calculations, public transport saves over 865 million hours in travel time and 450 million gallons of fuel in 498 urban areas. And as per the recent news, in our country also, this has become a major issue, where we have 6 million vehicles registered in our country, while the population is around 20 million. And from that 6 million, over 4 million vehicles are using daily on roads. So moving on to the second benefit, it reduces the carbon footprint. This is the most important benefit when it comes to today's concern, because the world is looking towards a green world, and this using public transport helps to achieve that, as it support more efficient and effective infrastructure usage, and it saves fuel usage when using vehicles on road. The third benefit is public transport provides economic opportunities and drive community growth. Due to the reduction of fuel cost that people spend on fuel, it helps to increase their consumable income, and finally it helps to increase the country's GDP. That means gross domestic production. These are some of the main issues in public transport sector. Centralization. Centralization means it is limited only to the city public transport. Many developed public transport systems are limited only to the city areas. So people are hesitate to travel long distances using public transport modes. The second one is the connectivity. This is a major issue where the lack of connectivity between different modes such as buses and railway modes. Then this happens due to the independency between modes as they drive their systems individually. The third one is the transport inadequacy, and it is subjected, the transport modes are subjected to underused or overuse. The modes are underused during the off-peak hours and overused during peak hours. This is my research objectives. The main objective was to find the factors affecting service quality in public bus transport sector, and co-objectives I have identified to find the relationship of affective factors to the development of transportation and the effect of customer complaints toward the development of public transport, and find the areas where we have to pay much more attention to develop the public transportation. Moving on, based on the research objectives, I have developed three main research problems, and that is to find the factors affecting service quality in public transportation, and what are the existing facilities in the sector and how it can be developed, and what are the existing facilities that they provide to handle customer complaints. Significances of the research I have categorized mainly into two parts, and it is mainly the academic and practical significances. The academic significance implies that it is important to study on this area as it has not been much focused academically in Sri Lankan context, where other countries pay much more attention into this area. So it helps Sri Lankan academics to investigate further on this area and find the strength and weaknesses so that the public transport can be developed. As practical significances, the first two significances are on the perspectives of passengers, where their intention towards using public transport can increase or decrease the use of it. So it is important to identify these two significances. The economic significances is again when using public transportation, it reduces the fuel usage, and ultimately it helps to increase the country's GDP. In many developed countries, the transport when they use public transport rather than using private vehicles, the public transport accounts 6 to 12% of their GDP. The legal significances means this is mainly for the policy makers in order to impose new rules and regulations of using private public transport and handling complaints, especially to improve the service quality. And finally, the environmental significances. This is of course a major considered area, because when using public transportation system, it helps to save the environment. Description of the data. I have taken the population as Colombo district, as considering the whole country was not possible, and the sampling method was random sampling method, where each and every passenger or people in this population has an equal chance to get into the survey, and the sample size was 400. The data collection method was both secondary and primary. Secondary data was collected from the Western Province Transport Authority and the Sri Lanka Transport Board in order to obtain the complaint patterns and their procedures of handling complaints. The primary data was collected through a questionnaire survey, where I have included several identified factors in order to gather information from the transport users. The questionnaire was designed under these areas. The demographic information is to get their occupation, gender, age, and etc. The service quality factors were included from previous literatures, and in order to find the factors that are relevant to our country. And the customer complaint categories were included from the information I have got from the Western Province Transport Authority and Sri Lanka Transport Board. And I have included also the awareness of the people taken about the actions that they take against violence of transport policies. And finally, the overall customer satisfaction as they identify about Sri Lankan public transport sector. Before to conduct the survey, I have conducted a reliability test using 50 transport passengers, and the Cronbridge alpha was measured, and it should be greater than 0.7, which I have 0.78. The methodology was the research design was causal research. We have to check the relationship between dependent and independent variables, and based on that, the conceptual framework created. Both customer preferences and expectations affect customer satisfaction, and ultimately the satisfaction leads to improve or decrease the service quality of the sector. Measurements I have included was Likert measurements, where I have to rate the factors that I have rated the factors using Likert measurements. And the data analysis was mainly done in 3 parts: descriptive analysis, chi-square analysis, and multinomial logistic regression. Descriptive analysis is to measure mean, mode, median, and etc. The chi-square analysis is mainly to find the significant factors that should be included in the multinomial logistic regression. These are the factors and the significant value that I have obtained, and these factors have used in multinomial logistic regression model. And it is the multinomial logistic regression is being used where I have to measure where there is one dependent variable and more than 2 independent variables. And the model selection was done based on the goodness of fit, degree of freedom, and significant values. And in order to select the model, the chi-square value should be less than the degree of freedom value, and the significant value should be greater than 0.05. And my model fitting informations are as shown here. And in order to select the model, the significant value should be less than 0.05. And talking about the R-square test, and it should be in between, the value should be in between 0 and 1. In my case, it is in either cases this is acceptable. Discussions and conclusions. I have included in theoretical and industrial contributions and implications. And theoretically, it helps to develop new theories relating to service quality in public transportation. And industrially, it is important to operators, responsible transport authorities, and environmental authorities. And the discussion of research questions, these are the identified service quality from the model I have created, and the existing transport facilities that we have currently in Sri Lanka as shown here. And the research, the current facilities to handle customer complaints, both Western Province Transport Authority and Sri Lanka Transport Board provide 24-hour customer complaint handling channel for the violence of transport system procedures. And the limitations was this is limited only to public bus transportation, and due to improper procedures of handling complaints, it was unable to gather statistics and standard procedures, and this is limited only to the Colombo district. Recommendations I have included as shown in the slide, and thank you very much for your participation.
Thank you. So we will leave the questions to the end.